You've seen how normally distributed data have a population mean that is used to construct a probability distribution. In this video, we will look at the mean from a random sample of data and how to calculate the mean for the sample. Let's start with an example. A certain species of adult trout has a mean length of 15 inches with a standard deviation of 2. The table shows a random sample of 30 trout and their length. How does the mean for this data set compare with the population mean? In this example, we know the mean for the population is 15 inches. 30 fish are randomly selected for measurement. Do we expect the mean of this data set to be 15? Realistically, the mean will be close to 15, but we don't expect it to be exactly the same as the population mean. For that reason, we designate the mean of this data set as the sample mean. It is designated by this formula. This may look like a new formula, but it's identical to the mean formula you've been working with. The symbol for the sample mean is this, and is meant to indicate that it is different from the population mean, mu. This symbol, the Greek letter sigma, is called the summation symbol. What it says is that we add up all the terms that make up the measurements. In other words, the sum of all the numbers. The denominator is the number of numbers, n. This formula is equivalent to the verbal expression, the sum of numbers over the number of numbers. For this data set, the sample mean is 15.31. As you can see, it isn't exactly equal to the population mean, but it's not too far off either. The standard error of the mean is a measure of how the sample mean differs from the population mean. This is the formula for it. Recall that the symbol sigma is the standard deviation, and n is the number of data items. For this data set, the standard error is 0.55. Let's look at another example. Adult macaws have an average wingspan of 48 inches with a standard deviation of 6. The table shows a random sampling of 30 birds whose wingspans were measured. Find the sample mean and the standard error of the mean. We know that the population mean is 48, and we need to find the sample mean based on the data set. This is the formula for finding the sample mean, although you can also use a spreadsheet to calculate it. The sample mean is 46.74. Now let's calculate the standard error. Here is the formula for calculating it. Plug in values for the standard deviation and the number of terms. The standard error comes out to approximately 1.1. Let's look at a final example. Adult male elephants have an average weight of 12,000 pounds with a standard deviation of 1,500 pounds. The table shows a random sampling of 30 adult male elephants whose weights were measured. Find the sample mean and the standard error of the mean. The population mean is 12,000, and we need to calculate the sample mean from this data set. You can use the formula to do the calculations or use a spreadsheet. The sample mean is 12,470. The standard error is found using this formula. It comes out to 273.86.